If you're anything like me or so many of my clients, you've wondered, is there a way to really boil down training nutrition? What we eat before, during, and after. And especially for today, we're talking about that during. During a long run, a long ride, a long hike, a long climb, whatever it is there a way to boil that down into a formula to where we know really what our bodies need? Well, today I'm going to give you the quick version of what your body needs for during training nutrition. Hello, my name is Kelly Jennings and I'm the owner of Apex Nutrition. I'm a registered dietitian and sports nutritionist, and today we're going to talk about during training nutrition. Now, if you've listened to me before here on Apex Nutrition TV or on my Apex Nutrition podcast on Mountain Bike Radio, you are laughing to yourself about me being quick. But really, for real, I'm going to be quick today. So here are the 5 steps to during training nutrition. Now, if you want even more specifics, you'll see a link below to my book and my plan called Fuel Right, Race Light, and that takes you through this calculator, through all these steps in so much detail and gives you exact numbers. I'm going to do my best to give you some very specifics today, but that's where you can go next if you really want to dial this in. So, first of all, let's start with our goals for during training nutrition. If you are training up to 90 minutes, we're not actually talking about that. And up to 60 for sure in research, we don't see a lot of benefit with training nutrition. Up to 90, a lot of times most people feel like the logistics of carrying training nutrition outweigh the benefits, so that's kind of like a starting point for me of where we're going to talk about training nutrition, especially for my clients who do want to lose fat. Those shorter workouts are a great place to lose fat by not using training nutrition, but they'll suffer too much if we go without for longer, and we don't want performance to suffer even when we're trying to lose weight. So for 90 minutes to 3 hours, generally the goals are going to be about 60 grams of carbs. Now, I speak in carbs rather than emphasizing the calories because we want the calories to come from carbs in my plans. We don't want them to come from anywhere, and calories can also come from protein and fat, but we're talking about carbs. So we want about 60 grams of carbs. This is all per hour. Number 2, we want hydration. Now, people have different needs for different amounts of hydration, and depending on how hot it is and everything like that. A good rule of thumb is around 20 ounces per hour. Now, if you're going really early in the morning or are really well trained for the amount of work you're about to do, you can, get down there in the 12 to 15 ounces per hour range. But especially if you're someone who sweats a lot, if it's high humidity or high heat, then aim for that 20. Now, the next goal I have for this time frame is going to be 400 to 700 milligrams of sodium per hour. Again, if you are a high sweat, heavy sweat or something like that, some men need up to 1,000 milligrams of sodium per hour, but this is a good range for this amount of time. So goals for 3+ hour training, we're gonna just bump everything up a little bit. So 75 to 90 grams of carbs per hour. The fluid can actually stay the same because that's going to be about 20 ounces per hour, again, with the same caveats for less. And then usually 400 to 700 milligrams sodium per hour will still be okay, but if it's high heat, we're going to bump this up to 600 plus milligrams sodium per hour. Those are our goals. Got those numbers? So let's see, how do we meet those goals? First, start with a drink. Now, if you just will not drink anything but water, well, hey, that's fine. But you're gonna have all these nutrients to make up somewhere else. Just know that. If you want to drink like a lighter sports drink that doesn't have very many carbs in it, like let's say you only get 10 to 15 grams of carbs per 20 ounce bottle or 20 ounces that you're going to have per hour, then you are gonna have quite a bit to make up as well, and that's okay. So the first thing to do is find a sports drink that you like. Now, a lot of times I want to see upwards of 20 to 30 grams of the carbs that we need every hour coming from a sports drink. Some of my favorite sports drinks are commercially. If I'm going for a shorter thing and I want something lighter, then I do like Skratch Labs, as do a lot of my clients. For something longer, or when I want to get a lot more carbs in from my drink because I need more carbs per hour, then I personally like Carbo Rocket 333. And the reason is it's formulated to be able to give you a lot of carbs per hour without becoming too sweet or being too hard on your stomach. even 87 grams of carbs per that 20-ounce bottle per hour. So you can have that, but you can also back it off if you want to. Whereas if you used another drink and you tried to concentrate it and just add a bunch, you might end up with just something way too sweet and that's not formulated for that. So that's one reason I like it, and the other is because it has some of the amino acids and the amount of sodium I like. So there'll be more about that in a moment. I also do make a home brew, and I'll have another whole video about that, but generally that just is a organic lemonade with water and salt, and then I add some the amino acids that I'll talk about in a minute and maltodextrin to make it a little bit more concentrated. So that's another video for another day, but those are the drinks I like, and there are so many other great companies out there too. Infinite's great, Tailwind is great, but those are the ones I generally use. Number 2 is a carb option. Now, what is a carb option? That is just a food source or a fuel that has carbs in it that is going to help us get to those carb needs that we have. So we're going to look at our drink, think about how much we'll actually drink, how many carbs we're getting from that, and then decide if we need a carb option to meet our goals, which usually we will. Now, carb options can be whole food and real food. They can be things you make at home, or they can be engineered fuels. I like kind of a combination of both actually, but I do err more on the side of the whole real foods. They just are more satisfying out there a lot of the times. But when I'm going for a long, something that's a lot of hours, I need things that are light. So oftentimes I'll use a combination because that little gel with 25 grams of carbs is a lot easier to carry than a banana with 25 grams of carbs. So if you look at my Feel Right blog on apexnutritionllc.com, you will find so many recipes for energy bites, for energy bars, for cookies, all sorts of training fuels that are designed to give you the ingredients and the nutrients you need and not any of the things that are going to really hurt your stomach or cause problems. So look there for those. Other easy things are things like salted dates or mangoes or dried mangoes or fruit strips or pretzels. There's so many different things you can use. Now, engineered fuels that are designed for training, they have a place in my opinion too, although too much of them seems to cause a lot of gastric distress in some athletes. But I do like things like Lara bars. I like Chomps on occasion, and I also like Power Bar gels. That's my favorite gel, but people have different preferences there. And again, individual preference is key here. If you don't like what you're eating or drinking, then none of this really matters because it's not going to go over well. Number 3 is we're going to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves in terms of sodium. So we're going to go back and look at that drink. How much will we actually drink? How are we making it in terms of scoops in water, and how much sodium are we getting? Then we're going to look at that carb option. How much sodium are you getting there? Now, are you meeting those sodium goals then? If you're not, and you most likely aren't, then we can add some sodium. A couple ways to do it. One is salt. 1/12 teaspoon. So just taking a 1/4 teaspoon and doing a third of it is going to give you about 200 milligrams of sodium. So that's quite a boost. If you put that in a drink, you're generally not even going to taste it. You can also add it to a carb option like salted dates, adding it to that, or smashing it into Fig Newtons or a Lara bar, adding some sodium yourself that way. Power Bar gels, one of the reasons I pick those is because they have 200 milligrams of sodium. I like how they taste too, but that is one reason. The other thing you can do is you can use a sodium supplement. I like Succeed caps and salt sticks, and there's a lot of others out there, but those are the two I seem to use the most with clients and myself. So that's my preference. Number 4. Now what we've done 1 through 3 is pretty good for anything all the way up to 3 hours. Now there's the different goals with up to 3 hours and then beyond, but you really don't need to look too much further than that. Sodium is the most important electrolyte there. If you're using a commercial drink, you probably are getting the other electrolytes as well. But if you're going longer, let's talk about a few extra things you can do. First, amino acids. I like adding L-glutamine and branched chain amino acids. These are used up by the skeletal muscles so much. I add 2 to 3 grams of each of those. And they can just help as far as skeletal muscle recovery and repair even during training, as well as L-glutamine is used by the gut cells, and branched chain amino acids can affect the brain in a positive way. So those are a good thing there. Another advanced ingredient is probiotics. Probiotics can reduce nausea, can reduce gastric reflux, and can reduce lower digestive issues as well, like gas. So those are great things, especially if you've had stomach problems in the past. You can use them before and then every 2 hours or so with a probiotic pill. Another one is anti-cramp ingredients. I will do a whole other video on my apple cider vinegar tonic. But vinegar itself is a great anti-cramp ingredient. You can find it in pickle juice or use my tonic, and you can drink those before and during, just taking a little plastic, like backpacking little 1 ounce canister thing can be a great way to take it with you. And as soon as you feel a cramp coming on, you swig that, and vinegar actually affects the nerve misfiring that's affecting the muscles. So that's a great anti-cramp. Another one is if you're going for a long time and you're not getting calcium and magnesium from somewhere else, I recommend adding a calcium magnesium pill. Most pills are about 400 milligrams calcium, 200 milligrams magnesium. So you take one of those with your pre-training meal, and then every 3 hours if you're going more than 5 hours. Those are the advanced ingredients. The fifth thing that I like to see is a real whole food about every 3 hours. So something a bit more substantial, something that won't fill you up too much. Again, we want fueled, not full. But something that's like half sandwich size or less, that's real and that is just kind of satisfying to you. By eating that, you will reduce that nausea, that hollow stomach nausea that you can get sometimes when you just haven't had anything in your stomach, and that will really help. So that's what I recommend. Those are the 5. You start with the drink, then carb options, then check your sodium, advanced ingredients, and a real food every few hours to get it done. So thank you so much for listening, and if you want so much more, go to apexnutritionllc.com. Thanks so much.
Mom, Dad.